low with it so you can see the robe and the chain and the do-rag. We comfortable and we look good. As you guys know, I was doing the how to use for all of the paradox forms previously. I did all the future ones, but then they announced series 1, which didn't include them, so I figured I would save the past paradoxes for series 2, which has been announced for February 1st. If you have missed those, I'll link them in the description. But what we usually do is we go over the paradox mon itself, the mon it's a paradox of, in this case Salamence. We go over like what I would consider maybe a standard set, something maybe more of an offensive set. I gotta remember what I did for this one. Something like of a supportive set, and something of a set that you would absolutely never use unless you're just trying to have fun with the Pokemon, but not really super duper serious about wins and losses. Even like sometimes a supportive set is just to show what it can do, but it's not something I would necessarily recommend using, because sometimes these monsters are just not meant to support, they're meant to go. So first things first, we're going to compare the, I want to scroll that down, we're going to compare the Roaring Moon stats to the Salamence. So first thing that I notice usually with it is that it's bulkier. So Salamence is 95 HP, Roaring Moon has 105, which is a little bit better. Its defense is 9 points lower, but that's not a huge deal with the added HP. And not to mention the special defense is 101 here versus the special defense of only 80 for the Salamence. So it actually is overall much bulkier. Its attack stat is a little bit higher, which is fine because 135 is also awesome. So if it stayed the same, that would be fine. And it is much faster. It's 119, which is a speed tier Salamence couldn't dream of hitting. I can't even remember how fast Mega Salamence was. It probably might have been faster, but who knows. So yeah, so overall, it's a much better Pokemon statistically. It has the photosynthesis as opposed to Intimidate and Moxie. You can debate whether or not you prefer Intimidate or Moxie over photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is definitely better than Moxie because Moxie, you have to KO Pokemon and attack, raise your attack by one stage. With photosynthesis, if you just want to do it, you just do it. And there's nothing stopping you. So I'm gonna get into the first set here. So this set is a very kind of standard-ish set, something that I consider a standard set that you could use to get probably like consistent results. Terra Steel, because I do think right now it seems like defensive Terras are a bit more optimal than offensive ones. So Terra Steel, because you are Dragon and Dark typing, which I should have went over. Salamence is only Dragon and Flying. So you do lose that flying resistance to ground, which is not great because Steel would make you weak to ground. But it's not the end of the world when like you're 4 times weak to Fairy, and Steel is a much better defensive typing against Fairy than Dragon and Dark is, because Dragon and Dark you take a small gust of wind from a Fairy type, you're going to go down. So you get Ironhead to take advantage of the Steel type stab, because you don't want to use Terra Blast when you have a much better move in Ironhead, because you have a chance to make the target flinch and it's the same base power. Earthquake I think is good because it's good for spread damage. Spread damage is really nice. It lets you hit other opposing Steel types, like maybe opposing Steel type Roaring Moons or opposing Goldengos, or just any other Steel type that you might run into. It gives you a chance to hit those for really big damage. Throat Chop I think is just good dark stab into stuff like Indeedee and stuff like what's the other mon? Stuff like Indeedee and stuff like Armor Rouge. There we go. I always forget the names. Additionally, you can hit like Fluttermane for neutral, but I do think Ironhead is probably better there in that sense. But you can also like hit Sylveons if they still are around in Series 2. You can hit Sylveons, stop their Hyper Voices. You can hit Skeledirges, stop their Hyper Voices. I do think Skeledirge is going to be a strong mod in Series 2 because it resists those Fairy types. And it resists those Steel types. And you can Terra it to resist Dragon types because it does like the Terra Fairy a lot. So Throat Chop to stop those Torch Songs could be really good. And it's just good Dark Stab. Protect, because like I said, a standard set. Clay Amulet, because Intimidate seems to be picking up a little bit. Not to mention, not only is Intimidate picking up back with like Tauros, but also like with Iron Bundle coming, a lot of Icy Wind is going to be in the format, and this stops you from dropping your speed due to Icy Wind as well. So yeah, so you can't lower your stats, which is really good to me. So no attack lowering, no defense lowering, no speed lowering, which is great. So I think just a regular 252 kind of spread. I maybe would probably just move the 4 to HP, I guess, because it gives you that nice odd number for those 50% moves, because Pokemon tends to round down. So those you keep over 50% of your health on those. Next, now the moves are the same for the most part, but I'm going to explain all the key differences here. So Iron Head, Throat Chop, Earthquake, same set of moves. The reason I don't have dragon coverage on here is because I think in a more standard like set like this, you're probably not gonna need a lot of dragon coverage. Dragon only hits dragon for super effective. It hits everything else for neutral. Fairies and moons and steel resist. I expect to see a lot of steel terras, and those are gonna resist your dragon type moves. And there's gonna be a lot of fairies, which are going to be immune to your dragon type moves. Which is why I think Earthquake is better to hit steel, Iron Head is better to hit fairy, and Throat Chop is just good dark stab into anything else and to stop those voice related moves. In this set, right, it has Dragon Dance because this is gonna be more offensive. And I know obviously I don't have like the full offense here, but I'll explain why in a minute. So this one is a booster energy set. The reason I don't have as much offense is because I want the booster energy to boost the speed, and in order to boost the speed, your speed has to be higher than your attack stat. But that's what Dragon Dance comes into play, because Dragon Dance will give you a +1 into this anyway, so you'll have more than you would if you just had the regular 252 attack as it stands. 148 Jolly lets you outspeed Garchomp still, because Garchomp is 169, so lets you still outspeed Garchomp. And then at +1 from your booster energy, you would then outspeed everything in the format that is not boosted. I know you're probably thinking like, why the speed to outspeed Garchomp if you have booster energy? Because we don't have the clear amulet here, right? So if your speed gets lowered by one stage for whatever reason, then in that case you still outspeed stuff like Garchomp, all the 103s and stuff, and lower. You still outspeed those Pokemon, even if you don't have your photosynthesis boost anymore. If you need to switch out for whatever reason, you still outspeed those things. So that's going to be very important. Terra Fairy, because with this set, because you might want to get a Dragon Dance off, and you might not, be able to blow up your opponent on turn 1. Terra Fairy is a little bit better because you're not going to be able to get hit by like Oko ground moves from the opponent. You're also still going to be able to resist fairy type moves from the opponent. So I think that's a good Terra typing for this set in particular. You could still go with Steel, but I do think Fairy might work. You could even go with Fairy in the other one as well. But I do think Fairy works for this because you don't really need the stab if you get the +1 with Dragon Dance, and this is good for survivability. So you can, I know it said offensive set, but it seems more like a bulky set, right? But you get the bulk and you get the offenses because you have Dragon Dance and you have max HP and you have 4 and 4 in your defenses. So I think that's a really good way to run this. I might actually try this when it becomes legal first before anything else, honestly. But yeah, Dragon Dance gives you another. So at +2, you then outspeed everything. No, you outspeed everything, of course, but then you outspeed like Fluttermane and Iron Bundle at +1 when they have their photosynthesis boost for their speed, if they have that. Especially like Fluttermane. So like it goes up to +1, you go up to +1 with yours, right? You get a Dragon, you Terra Fairy, so they can't Oko you with their Fairy type move. Then you get a +1, so now you outspeed it, and you Oko it with Iron Head, even without Terra Steel. So I think that was the idea behind this set when I was putting it together before the video. So I like that a lot, actually. Now that I'm just reviewing everything in my head and saying it out loud, I like that a whole lot. So this is more of a supporter set, not something I would necessarily like recommend. But again, if you want to run something in a different way, go for it, of course. And this is some ideas. I wouldn't run all 4 of these. I would probably take off one of these for like a more offensive move. But Tailwind and Taunt, I think, are good because you can get a +1 in your speed, and then you can have a really fast Tailwinder. Set up Tailwind for your opponent. You can taunt those opposing Trick Room setters, or you can taunt whatever you want. Those Amoonguss that want to spore you, stuff like that. Breaking Swipe is good for lowering the opponent's attack, which I think is good for damage, and it's also good for spread damage and good for lowering their attack as well. This is the first time we've seen dragon coverage on this set because you'll be using this more so for getting around those physical attackers since you don't have the Intimidate anymore because they're a Roaring Moon and not a Salamence. And this kind of is a pseudo Intimidate. U-turn you can use for getting out of those sticky situations that you don't want. You can like maybe Terra. Obviously, you're not going to use. You don't have to use Dragon for this. You can change it to a more defensive typing. But you can Terra, Tailwind. You can either Breaking Swipe. You can U-turn out to get something in under the Tailwind that you want to switch in while getting some chip damage. Maybe breaking a sash on something, doubling up with your partner, and then getting something in for free safely. That's more of a complicated move for I know most players, but it's something that you can do. It does get some other moves. You probably could just like switch it out for one of its other physical stabs, just like throw chop or something, but I like U-turn, so I think I'd probably just keep it. Now on to the final set. This one is actually funny as hell. So it's a special set. Obviously a special attack is nothing, so I want to show you guys something really cool. You can't actually get booster energy. The reason it has life orb is because you can't get booster energy. If I drop this to 0, 124 on the speed stat, and the attack stat is 129, even at modest with special attack all the way up, and both of those being zeros, you still can't get the booster energy boost. This goes back to what I was telling people before, where these Pokemon are built in a certain way that you can't boost their energy all your stats. You can only boost their energy the stats they want you to boost their energy. They were designed in a very specific way that way, so that you can't really abuse it. But going back into the actual set, right? So you basically are running it like worse Hydreigon, because you don't have levitate and you don't have good special attack. So it's really just worse Hydreigon. But it does get focus energy, heat wave, dark pulse, Draco Meteor, right? Which is basically worse Hydreigon stuff. Well, same moves as Hydreigon, just worse usage. Funny enough, right? So at this speed, 244, you still have speed Garchomp. Life Orb Draco Meteor with this max special attack does more than enough that you need to OHKO opposing Garchomps somehow. It's actually insane. I'm pretty sure it OHKOs Dragapult and Hydreigon as well from this range. Dark Pulse does like it 2-hit KOs Goldengo, and so does Heat Wave. Also Draco Meteor OHKOs Iron Bundle with this spread. And that doesn't count if you get the focus energy up. Focus energy makes a lot of 3-hit KOs into 2 KOs, a lot of like 2-hit KOs into 1-hit KOs. It's actually pretty insane. So if you can manage to like get off a focus energy and then like get those crits, in that case though, you might want to run like Scope Lens, I guess, because then you get like guaranteed crits if you use focus energy plus Scope Lens. So that's something to consider. So then with that, like I said, if you do get the focus energy up turn 1, you Terrafire, then you're kind of just blowing up everything somehow, some way with this weak special attack stat. But it's really funny. I was doing some of the comps, and it's actually pretty interesting. Terrafire, because you have the Heat Wave, you resist Fairy, and you get the Heat Wave boost. This does leave you a bit weak to ground, but again, because the primary ground type right now is Garchomp, unless, like I said, something else takes over. Draco Meteor just blows it up from this range. I have to see if it still blows it up without the Life Orb boost. You know what? Let's run that since we got time. Where is the Garchomp? Most Garchomp are just 252, 252. So I want to take off the Life Orb. I'm gonna put a random item here. So Draco Meteor still has a 31% chance to. Let's make that bigger. It's freezing. Draco. Oh, there we go. Draco Meteor still has a 31% chance to OHKO. So like that's still really good. And even if you don't OHKO, like 90% to the opposing Chomp with this set is pretty awesome still. And it's just really funny that it actually is capable of doing that. But anyway, let me know what you guys think of Roaring Moon in the comments. Do you prefer Roaring Moon or Salamence? Let me know below which of these sets you might try for yourself, which ones are your favorite, if you disagree with anything I've done, or if you agree with what I have put up here. Let me know in the comments below. Again, in the description, I'll have the how to use for the other paradoxes. I might have it in a playlist, so I'll put the playlist in the description below so you guys can check out those as well. And let me know which one of these paradoxes you'd like to see me do next. Otherwise, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.